everyone. We're here today to kind of inaugurate a project that we've been trying to do for about a year with the blessing of the mayor. He saw the vision. We had some Ball State professors stop by, present me to a man named Glenn, who introduced me to this project called ECTV. And what it is, it's an aquaponics project that we're trying to do here at this greenhouse. Early on, the mayor said, hey, the greenhouse looks like we're not using it to its full capacity. What can we bring in? And when we all kind of discussed this, I mean, it became kind of a aha moment. So without further ado, I just want to go over a little bit of tidbits on what this project is supposed to do and how it's supposed to help. First off, this is the first phase of the project, and thanks to the mayor, he put in $100,000 as the capital to start the pilot program, and we're hoping that this program will take off. And if it takes off, we're looking to apply for the USDA grant that is up to $800,000, 50-50 matching funds, and the mayor has committed that also if this program is successful. And the goal of this is to provide healthy alternatives and healthy food to impoverished communities. And that's why we're looking to partner up with the Salvation Army, who's present today, to get this as a mode to introduce this healthy vegetables that will be growing in this facility to the community. They've been long advocates of that through their day in and day out operations. So we're hoping that this will only add to that. We are looking to, on this tank that you see here, there'll be fish growing out of here, and then pretty much their waste fertilizes the plants in the system there. Once the system takes off, it's about every week you'll be able to harvest a certain amount of, we're looking at kale, lettuce, things like that. Once the thing is fully operational, the bacteria has kind of taken hold, then we're looking at like maybe tomatoes, cucumbers, and things like that. So we'll see what happens. The winter season is going to be more focused on the Salvation Army to help with, implementing the plan and helping distribute the produce. In the spring and the summer, we're looking to do farmers markets across the city to be able to, one, drop the prices of healthy vegetables in the city, because as we all know, it takes a salad costs almost as much as a full course meal at some restaurant, when a Big Mac costs only $1 or something like that. So, well, actually $2 or something, but I know because I eat a lot of that. So I can use a little bit of the system. So without further ado, I want to present the man that made this happen, that was visionary and was a perfect example of where the city's wanting to go and be progressive. This is the Mayor Anthony Copeland.
He sweetened the story up a little bit, but let me first thank the Salvation Army and everybody in the audience that took the time to come out today. Marino started off telling me about, at the end, we're going to have to find $800,000, and he was trying to tell me about the project. So then I told him, you're going to have to give me 800,000 reasons to help me with my unbelief. Now he tried to say it was this vision thing, but I could not see it. But then when he brought Ball State and when Glenn came up, and I was totally impressed, whenever you see someone take something and they can explain it with love, and then that love reaches you because it's coming out of every pore of them, then I got the bigger picture. And I said, why wouldn't I step out in faith when I know it was going to be a win-win situation? Because if this worked, it was about the quality of life. Any and everything we've been doing across the city of East Chicago has been about the quality of life, and this is just one more step toward that journey. So Marino, you see, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can help me with my unbelief. So thank you. And Glenn, would you come on, please? Would you come up and say a word? He's trying to say he's shy, but he's a man of many words. And again, thank you.
Well, my name is Glenn Barber. I'm the inventor of ECTV. I'd like to thank Mayor Copeland and Marino, and specifically Marino, for seeing and
coming to our property and seeing exactly what we were doing and understanding the vision. So to give you just a brief scenario, we've been working on this project for most of a decade. We have 7 children, and one of my older children was diagnosed with schizophrenia in September of 2007, and this entire project is a culmination of the research done to treat schizophrenia. So it's near and dear. I'm very passionate about our technology. It's near and dear to our heart. The technology is a blessing for us. What's amazing is in our garage for 3.5 years, we started growing tomatoes. Our tomato plants are 3.5 or 4 years old, and we were just too naive to know we shouldn't be able to do that. And so this is a culmination of a lot of technologies, a lot of doctors, but mainly it was to treat my son's mental illness. That's why we developed this. Just so happens we developed a massive opportunity for trace minerals to be uptaken in plants, and a doctor had told me that most medications can come from a plant to an animal, and through, we'll just say, divine intervention, it's a decade later we're here. And so we certainly appreciate this opportunity. We decided to do 8 projects, because one of the things we've done is written a manual, it's a small manual on how to do this, because not everybody understands the science behind it. So with the manual, Marino had the gumption to understand, hey, wait a minute, this takes 40 years of science and really simplifies it. The opportunity to learn, after we teach today, the opportunity to learn more will always be there. But that manual is a roadmap for success. We actually have an orphanage that has one of these, an identical system in Haiti. They have 83 orphans. It's Opike, Opike is the name of the orphanage. 83 orphans. They're feeding the orphans. The orphanage is starting to sell produce to help fund the orphanage. They lost $4,000 a month in funding, so we're excited about that project. We have 7 other projects that we're working on, and we decided not to sell this to the world until we were able to refine the manual on a day-to-day basis with these questions that everybody will have. So we're so excited to be here. We consider ourselves a true partner. The fact that Mayor Copeland really opened his arms and said, okay, Barbara, we're going to give you this shot, that speaks volumes, and we promise we will not let you down. And please, by all means, check with us on a weekly basis. Hold our feet to the fire. We are here. We're not going anywhere, and we're very excited to be a part of your project.
Thank you, Glenn. And I would like to now get a representative from the Salvation Army to just speak on their behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, we are very excited about this project. We want to thank you, Marino, as well as the Mayor Anthony Copeland, and also you, Glenn, and everyone who's gone into making this happen. We're passionate about providing not only food, but nutritious food in our feeding program and in our food pantry, and this is a huge step to help us do that. Providing fresh produce, providing fish, being able to expand menus. That's a wonderful gift, and we want to thank all of you for helping to make that happen.
Thank you. Without further ado, I think we're going to start with the tutorial here. Glenn is going to guide us through the system and just the mechanisms and how it functions. If you're available tomorrow, we're actually going to start the planting process. So if anyone is interested in viewing that, you can. It'll be 9 o'clock also. And without further ado, Glenn.
So basically the system, the components of the system are the WPS, which is the water polisher. The water polisher is nothing more than a buffer. So this is where the water enters the entire system from the trough. So the last filling trough, you'll see the water comes down, enters the water polisher. There are a series of biological beads in here. So we call them bio beads, even though they're not needed. The reason we put the water polisher on, when I developed this, it was so we sequentially rear. So we harvest 1/5 of the system on a weekly basis, depending on time of year. So 1/4 or 1/5. Well, if you have a need at the Salvation Army and they need 2/5 or 1/2 harvested, this will buffer the beneficial bacteria needed to continue a healthy growth cycle in the system. So from here, this system, this water flows into the Asaya fish tank. The fish tank, this is a 500-gallon fish tank. We will be growing yellow perch here in East Chicago. You'll hear of a lot of tilapia being grown around the area. We grow yellow perch. It's a very hardy fish. They're also a schooling fish. And we've done an extensive amount of work and research with yellow perch. So we're flowing this tank, it's a 500-gallon tank, we're flowing it 1,750 gallons per hour. So we flow the tank 3.5 times per hour. And that's one of the secrets of success is our flow rate. Also, so from the tank, that then goes into the vertical flow separator on the other side. So what happens is as the fish, the unconsumed feed, when we feed the fish, and the fish waste come down through a pipe underneath, come up through a standpipe in the vertical flow separator, and then it evacuates into the vertical flow separator. So the heavy solids, the fish waste and unconsumed feed, will settle to the bottom of the vertical flow separator, and then the clean water comes up, flows over, flows down, and flows into the aquaculture wastewater conversion unit. Now I'm going very fast so we can just get all this down, but we will explain this and I'll detail it out with the dry erase board. We will make sure that everybody has an extensive knowledge of how this works, because it really is, the problem with what we've developed is it's too simple. It's too good to be true. And so we're not one of those aqua shysters. We're not going to do that to you. Our technology is solid. And the aquaculture wastewater conversion unit is a series of shells. What we do is we break down the fine particulates. When the fish evacuate their waste or the unconsumed feed, we have a TDS, it's total dissolved solids, and total suspended solids. So all the solids are suspended in the water column. All we're doing is we've created a microbial factory to break those solids down, turn them into basically dissolved organic carbon, which is plant food. That's all we're doing. So after we flow from the vertical flow separator to the aquaculture wastewater conversion unit, there are a series of shells. Any solids under 20 microns will flow to the entire system. Solids over 20 microns in size, which are very small, will settle on those shells, and we reduce those over the course of a few hours with time and energy. We reduce those to plant food, basically, and we create nitrates. The nitrates then flow through the system. This entire system consists of about 4,400 gallons of water, and we will flow the fish tank 3.5 times per hour, and we will flow the troughs about 2 times per hour. So what's crucial for what we're doing is flow. So a few of the issues we've had since we set this up and turned the switches on, this is by design because we need people to say, hey, wait a minute, we're not flowing here, we're flowing there. Because the more they learn that, the more they say, oh, yeah, now we know, we found leaves down here, we found leaves here. There was a beautiful bush, Mayor Copeland, we tried to save that bush. I'm so sorry. I love that bush. But it was destroying your greenhouse and it was dropping a tremendous amount of leaves in the system. So this system is completely recirculated. We lose 3 to 7% of our water on a monthly basis due to evaporation, plus plant transpiration. If we grow tomatoes, they're 90% water. We'll use a lot more water. So the makeup water that we put in is, on a 4,400-gallon system, is around 400 gallons a month. Now what's really hard for most people to conceptualize is that we grow most of this produce in a 12-inch water column. Now here's another caveat. So underneath the water, in about 6 months, we'll introduce a crayfish called the red claw crayfish. It's the Australian red claw. We'll grow a couple per square foot. The red claw eat the dead ends of the plant roots, and they help the scavengers, so we don't feed them. So, Mayor, you'll be able to have a celebrity auction at the end of every 90 days and get these freshwater lobsters. You can get some of your political supporters and say, hey, look here, we're going to have a feast, but we're going to bid on the bigger lobsters. So the city can do some really creative and neat things with that. As far as the food supply, one of the things you'll notice, we've had Dr. Damian Alexander. Dr. Damian Alexander, he's a social justice professor at Georgetown. Damian came to visit our farm and he doesn't like tomatoes. And we force-fed him a tomato. And he's a big guy, you know, so it was a risk. And now Dr. D, he loves tomatoes. He's been a huge proponent of what we're doing. We've been so fortunate to be able to introduce our technology to the right people. I just have to tell you again how fortunate we are. We know that it's a blessing to be able to do this in a partnership with Mayor Copeland and the city of East Chicago. And we're excited because the amount of produce that can be grown here and the health of that produce really will impact the community. As small as it will impact it. And so we're excited. So just to let you know, we welcome questions from the general public. We want to educate people on what we're doing.
And Glenn, just so that everyone is kind of on the same page, what type of vegetables are commonly grown in this, and then what's the output so that we get an idea?
Sure. So we're going to start the system with most likely basil, an herb, and we're going to start with some placenta kale, maybe Russian kale, and some lettuce. Because remember, what we're doing, it takes a year for this system to throttle up. Now that doesn't mean it takes a year to get produce. That means it takes a year to throttle up. So you get a significant amount of produce over the next coming weeks. But remember, with biology, you're dealing with life, right? And so we want to foster that. We're only doing what the Aztec Indians did 1,500 years ago, coming out of lakes and streams. That's what we're doing. So we copied their technology. We just made it modular, and we put more scientific thought into it rather than just trying to sell aquaponics systems. The Asaya method really is an Asaya method. It's not aquaponics, it's really organic hydroponics with an aquaponic factory. So that being said, we'll grow out of the system. You'll also be growing tomatoes, cucumbers. We have a rooting vegetable technology. You don't grow rooting vegetables in here, but we do grow rooting vegetables outside of the system in a soil type medium that is, you don't have to, it's not true soil. You don't have to throw it away. We get great carrots and leeks and radishes. And so we grow tremendous beets. You'll expect there are 45 growing trays we're putting in the system. Each tray has 33 net pots. This entire system holds 1,485 plants in the system. Typically, we grow leafy greens in the actual system. We redirect water from the aquaculture wastewater conversion unit, and we'll direct that to vining crops and also to the rooting crops. And then that water goes to the sump and is pumped right back into the system. The reason we do that is, as this system matures, we can, and I call it throttling up. As it throttles up, we have many more nutrients to be able to provide for plants. So as we do that, we're able to add more plants. The unique thing, like a tomato plant, if you're growing a tomato plant, horticulturists will tell you to trim the roots on that tomato plant every 2 to 3 weeks. How do you trim the root on a tomato plant? Besides sticking a shovel in the ground. When we introduce our crayfish trim the roots on those tomato plants. And so to tell you that I just developed all this, because I'm that brilliant, that didn't happen. This really was 10 years of trial and error, and it really is divine intervention. I had this epiphany. Wait a minute, if this particular crayfish is what we want to look at, they're omnivores. We want something as a scavenger in our system. So literally, with the amount of crayfish that will stock under the rafts, when we prune our plants as well, we'll take those cuttings, the majority of the cuttings, and stick under the rafts. Also, pruning on the tomatoes. So, Marino, your question about what we can grow, we've tested 1,200 varieties of fruits and vegetables, 300 successfully. We run a pH range from 5.8 to 6.8. So we will not grow a blueberry bush in here because blueberries like 5.5 on the pH. So we will grow tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchinis. There are 300 varieties of other fruits and vegetables we'll grow. What's unique is we'll grow a massive amount. Because if you look at what we're doing compared to traditional hydroponics, traditional hydroponics is fantastic, but it's 3 salts that you put into a vat of water. This is our vat of water. Those 3 salts have to be evacuated depending on the type of product every 14 days because the nutrients deplete to maybe 90 days. So you have this ebb and flow cycle for nutrient depletion. Once we infuse our fish and start feeding our fish, the older the fish get, the less ebb and flow we have. So when we say it takes about a year for our system to throttle up, it's because we end up with a flatline nutrient supply. And so we're able to do many, many, many things. We have a system that we just started, an identical system in Daleville, Indiana. The gentleman's name is Jeff Ginn. His company is Healthy Life Organics. Jeff is in a wheelchair. He runs his entire system. He and his wife, Laura, they run everything out of their greenhouse that they just built. He started his system August 15th, and I'll pull up a PowerPoint and show everyone that PowerPoint sometime during the day. He started his system August 15th. August 17th, we put his yellow perch in. He's growing 250 pounds of yellow perch. And in 11 days, he was harvesting produce. His plants were 2 weeks old from transplant, 11 days harvesting produce. In 21 days, he had a massive amount of kale. And this has been 4 months ago, he just put strawberries in New Year's Eve, and all of the strawberry plants are fruiting and providing from New Year's Eve. So he's starting to get strawberries that'll be ripening in another probably 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm not saying that we accelerate the growth process. We're just providing optimal growth conditions. So that's what we're doing.
And Glenn, I just want to state, I mean, and that story is kind of important because, and the second question I was going to ask you is, how easy is it to run the system? And I mean, without saying anything else, the wife and the person in a wheelchair, you know, is able to run the system, I mean, effectively and efficiently. And when you look at his produce, you're like, wow, like, you know, we've got plants this tall, and, you know, you got tomato lines, and so that really lets you know just the power of this project, I guess, and just the capacity of just a module like this. I want you to explain to them, you know, if this could be expanded, how that can be expanded and operate.
Sure. So one of the reasons we're so excited about this project is because this project threw a few curves at us. The greenhouse is set up with tables, and these tables are elevated. And so normally we would run this entire system on one pump. And Marino and the mayor graciously offered to lower the tables. But we're very much a nostalgia, you know, company. We love what's here. We know why it was here. So we said, no, if you'll allow us, we'll make this work. Our systems are plug and play. There are many aquaponics companies that have done a tremendous job of trying different technologies over the years. So my background is professional aeronautics and with a minor in mechanical engineering. So you know, that's just kind of where I came from. I've grown up around farming my entire life. I've always had something to do with farming. I was so fortunate to have been introduced to a company called Bell Aquaculture. Bell is probably a $150 million privately held corporation. They do yellow perch, which is why I actually chose yellow perch. Probably $90 million in science and probably $60 million in bricks and mortar. So effectively, I have a $90 million education in aquaculture. How fortunate am I? So it's been just a blessing. That being said, when I looked at this and saw what was available, we don't grow ebb and flow. We grow in a deep water culture. We want our water moving. We don't grow tilapia. We want our water below 78 degrees. We'd like to see 65 to 78. All fish have an E. coli and salmonella strain in their gut. It's a cold water strain. They have it. It's there. You have to understand that. If you'll notice, none of our water ever touches our plants. In traditional aquaponics with ebb and flow, you know, there are concerns with water touching the plants because tilapia grows best at 82 to 84 degrees. So if you focus and concentrate on the fish, the tilapia, even though the fish are sexy, they're just a nutrient source for our plants. So when we created this, we created it modular. So this is a modular system. So what we can do is we can plug and play. When we go to expand, not only do we plug and play, we don't lose any of the existing technology that we've got. We don't lose any water. We just set our other troughs in place, we put them in conjunction, and we turn the switch on. Now it takes a while for the other water to come to condition to be able to grow fully, but it's easy to expand. What's unique about this is we really have created the first aquaculture technology that banks will look at to lend money on, and they consider it equipment. Why is that important to the city? If there are, you know, if the city decides 3 years down the road that they want to sell this and do something else, there are people that can buy it and get bank financing. Or if the city decides that they want to buy more, they can plug and play. And I personally, Kelly and I, we don't believe it's going to be 3 years down the road. We believe within 12 months, Fran, Marino, and Mayor Copeland are going to be going, hey, let's step it up. We believe that's going to happen. So I'm sorry, we're just excited to work with you on this because we know what effect this is going to have on the community. And one of the things that's most exciting is I hope that we get some of the elderly in the community and the youth of the community. And it's a very spiritual thing. It's a very spiritual system. And I think if we can get those two groups working together on this, you're going to see a lot of benefit in East Chicago, a ton of benefit. And remember, positive breeds positive. It breeds positive. So as far as the system, we're very confident in the technology. The challenge that East Chicagoans presented is we've added 2 pumps. Now what's unique about this is I'm excited to share this with Fran because we can do some really cool things with these 2 pumps. And so, but we have to balance these 2 pumps or else we have an overflow. It's not a massive problem. But here's something that's also unique about our system. traditional aquaculture, aquaponics in general, dissolved oxygen is crucial. DO, called DO, dissolved oxygen. We run all of our dissolved oxygen off of the same pump we run the entire system off of. The technology we use for our DO is not an air stone. There's no maintenance on it. There's nothing ever to clean. We really simplified it to where you check your DO. It's either low or it's not. It's low or high. For us, we just throttle a valve open to get more DO. That's very important because before this technology, every 90 days, there were 18 air stones in here. Every 90 days, you would spend $14 to $27 per air stone replacing those air stones. And the air stones, you were constantly fighting with those stones to get your DO up. Now, DO is a direct derivative of pH, temperature, a lot of things, but we've really tried to simplify that, and what you'll see in the training today is we don't chase that rabbit. We say, look, here are our settings. If we fall within here, this is what's happening. And so to have a group of growers like we've developed now, these growers are blogging together, you're really learning a lot and taking years out of learning the science and biology behind it.